And right now I am joined by CEO Dan LaBert. And Dan, the keynote lineup is set. So who is speaking at NAILBA 41 this year?
It is probably one of the best lineups we've had in recent times. This year, there's a bucket for every issue that attendees want to learn more about, and we have some of the best and brightest on our main stage. I'm going to debut them, right? Because last Brokerage Emotion, I talked about a man crush, so I'll let you know who that is. But first and foremost, we have Daniel Pink, New York Times bestselling author. The Power of Regret, When to Sell is Human, Drive, and a Whole New Mind. His presentation's fantastic. He's well known. This is actually a return for him back to NAILBA, but he's a phenomenal speaker, and our attendees will pick up a lot around, especially around culture of the organization, and candidly, why his books are best-selling. So the content will be outstanding. Another keynote speaker is Pamela Barnum. And by the way, Daniel Pink is sponsored by AIG, so their continued support. So I want to be sure to mention sponsors in here where I can. But our next speaker is Pamela Barnum. She is sponsored by Pacific Life. What's great about Pam is she is a former undercover police officer and federal prosecuting attorney. So it's all about body language. She's a trust strategist, that nonverbal communication expert. So perfect for using for sales, for renewals, and just everyday professional life, but she's a dynamite speaker. Another keynote I want to mention is Billy Beane, right? If that name doesn't ring a bell, maybe the movie Moneyball will, where Brad Pitt played Billy Beane in that movie, talking about the use of analytics while on a budget. This hits home for every brokerage general agency, and candidly, probably every home office, but you can't be as decisive as you are without analytics. And when you're trying to compete against major markets, major budgets, the Oakland A's and what Billy Beane did was kind of out of nowhere and changed the way of baseball. Multi-billion-dollar corporate enterprises, and what happened to them and the result of it. That is sponsored by Transamerica. If you notice here, I'm saving the best for last, in my opinion. We also have NAILBA Rockstar event going on. That is going to be 45 minutes to an hour of your traditional skits and all the fun that we have along with it. But this year, for the first time, we will have the Thomas Ian Nicholas Band as part of that performance. Thomas Ian Nicholas is also the well-known actor who played in American Pie, as well as probably 40 plus other movies. Of course, some people may recognize him for that famous Chicago Cubs movie. I'm a Mets fan, so I'm just going to mention the name of the movie, but because the Mets actually lost to the Cubs because of his character's role. So I'm not going to mention that movie, but the Moores Dinner, right? We have great entertainment at the Moores Dinner this year. Do you remember the name Bob Eubanks? Well, Bob Eubanks, obviously well known for all his television and game show acts, but he was one of a group of four who played a key role in bringing the Beatles to the United States. So we have him going to tell his story about his impact with the Beatles. And of course, we got a great Beatles cover band to fill in as part of his presentation. And then finally, the man crush that I must now come to admit is Super Bowl winning quarterback Joe Montana. Defines leadership under pressure. He's been out of the game for a while. He's had a number of successful business ventures. He is being sponsored by John Hancock. Not a very common speaker in the conference space. It's very rare to get him out onto the main stage, since he's very focused on his business ventures and extremely successful. But Joe Montana, former San Francisco 49ers and Kansas City Chiefs quarterback, we have an absolute outstanding keynote main stage.
We absolutely do. And this is obviously always a top of the line list of big names, but we've also got some really great panel discussions. That's always on the agenda every year too. So what do we have at NAILBA 41?
Yes. So this is part of that merger with Fonseca. And we talked about changing some of the main stage platform to embrace the professional development side of things. So the first day one, before the Billy Beane keynote, before the Pamela Barnum keynote, we're going to dive right into a subject that is hitting every single person in this space, and that's mergers and acquisitions. So there will be a merger and acquisition panel with Brian Adams from Integrity, Scotty Elliott from AmeriLife, Bruce Donaldson from Simplicity, and Luke Kaplan from Arthur J. Gallagher. And, we don't want this to be a commercial, right? We want this to be talking about what's going on in the space. What is the end result, especially as it relates to brokerage? And we want the audience to understand, hey, am I a fit with one of these organizations? Am I okay independent? So we want to avoid all the commercialism, and that's going to be done because we have Mark Hug. Many people will recognize that name from Mark's role in various C-suite roles at the carrier level. But Mark will be moderating that 60-minute panel on day one. So we're very excited about that. On day two, now, right, we have the merger and acquisition panel. There's probably a much better name for it. I'm just forgetting. But on day two, right, everything that's being discussed on day one is changing the landscape moving forward. So we want the IMO leaders to weigh in on the future of distribution. So Bill Shiloh from Libra, Tim Clusis from the Marketing Alliance, John Ziambers from AIMCOR, and I believe at present Jim Duff or another person from TELUS will be weighing in on that panel discussion just to see about what is the future of the IMO, how are they leveraging partnerships. That's going to be moderated by CEO of Legal and General America, Mark Holweger. Why that is interesting is because when you go to an IMO event, it's usually the IMO leader with 4 CEO C-suite leaders up there. This now we're putting the carrier CEO in charge, and this person gets to moderate the IMO leaders about what is the future of distribution, what is the future of the IMO model, how can carriers be better partners, products, information, et cetera. 2 more other exciting panel discussions. One is the Washington report. Now, again, NAILBA not really having a large presence around government affairs through our merger with Fonseca and now being part of the Fonseca family. We have probably best in class government affairs at our disposal. There will be a Washington report in a fantastic format 2 weeks after the election, which is when NAILBA meeting takes place. Kind of a give and take, both on the left, both on the right, kind of a McLaughlin group kind of feel with a pardon the eruption blend of timers going off and who wins what rounds. But this was done similar at the Advanced Markets Conference for Fonseca. It was extremely well received, standing room only, and a lot of funny, interesting comments along the way to make this issue exciting. And then finally, we're going to hear from CEO from LIMRA about some interesting data that's being done around wholesale brokerage distribution. What are those points? And by the way, the CEO is Dave Levinson, but Dave's going to talk about what those points are. Again, using that data as your benchmark about what's going on in the space, what advisors want, what BGAs want, how it's moving forward. Again, going back to that day one presentation from Billy Bean about analytics, well, now you're getting the data to apply the analytics. So what a fantastic 2-day lineup. I'm tired just talking about it.
Everybody hopefully is going to leave exhausted. That's like the whole point of this, right?
Attendees leave NAILBA exhausted whether they come to the main stage or not.
Right. Sort of along that same vein, it would not be a NAILBA annual meeting without some entertainment. You mentioned NAILBA Rockstar. How else can the attendees kick back a little while they're in there?
Well, I mean, there's going to be your typical social events and an opening night reception, which was a huge hit last year. People are still talking about the Back to the Future theme and the DeLorean that was parked in the exhibit hall. This year, we have some more surprises. So people are just going to have to go to that exhibit hall, which will have its grand opening after the main stage on day one. The main stage ends around 6:30, and then the exhibit hall will open up. I'm really excited about the Rockstar event, because it's one thing to go and put on your skit and people get up and sing and have a great time. It's another thing now that we're adding a well-known, recognized artist with a well-known band, a lot of great music, definitely that 90s-ish sort of sound from a very recognizable face. Tom's a phenomenal guy. I was able to meet him at another industry event and become friends and twist his arm enough to come to the NAILBA Rockstar. But that Moore's Dinner angle, right? Listen, we've tried the comedian angle. We know how that works out. We've tried the keynote speaker. That's okay. But I mean, our demographic, Bob Eubanks, super, super well known from just throughout the last 30, 40 years on television. But his role in bringing the Beatles to the United States back in, I think that was the 60s, late 60s, maybe mid 60s. But anyway, they still came to the US.
Ago, yeah. It was years ago.
Right. And then having like one of the authentic Beatles cover bands in the back, I mean, we're in for like 45 to 60 minutes of a concert right at the end of the Moores dinner. Of course, after we take care of the priority, which is toasting this year's Moores Award winner, which is the entertainment and the value and the heartstrings alone. So what a fantastic lineup.
Yeah. And you also did mention a handful of sponsors as you gave us the rundown of the different keynotes, but so much else of what we're able to bring to everybody at the NAILBA annual meeting. It's just not possible without those sponsors. So do you want to give any other shout outs?
I don't, because there's that many, right? I mean, let's just talk about the key words here. The exhibit hall has been sold out for weeks. Mm-hmm. That has never happened in my time as CEO of NAILBA. A lot of that is around the momentum that NAILBA and Fonseca has created, but a sold out exhibit hall in a day and age where so many people come and say, oh, why do I got to buy a booth to be there? Now it's sold out and there's a waiting list for that. So we decided to get a little creative and create some like kiosks outside the exhibit hall for obviously a lower rate. They're sold out. So right now, the registration numbers are almost 3 figures ahead of where we were this time last year. So fingers crossed that continues. But wow, this is probably the most exciting NAILBA annual meeting, not just because of the timing around the merger with Fonseca, but I mean, look at this lineup. I mean, you know, Fonseca Advanced Markets Conference usually sets the tone at the beginning of the year with some fantastic keynotes and some great content. And you work through the other year and there's lots of quality conferences. And then the Super Bowl at the end of the year, which has always been NAILBA. And then, oh, and by the way, we happen to have a 4-time Super Bowl or 5-time Super Bowl winner. So we got that going on. 4-time, I believe. 5-time for the 49ers, 4-time for Joe Montana. But what a great lineup. Something I'm excited about. Of course, with all the NAILBA staples. Of course, there's golf too, right? Right?
Casino night, like all the good stuff. We just keep bringing the good stuff back, right? Making it better every year. And I feel as though now that I've been with the association enough years, I feel like every single year it just gets better and better and better. And we keep building upon that. And now certainly lots of momentum moving forward. So mere weeks away. We are, of course, looking forward to seeing everyone in Dallas. And thanks as always, Dan, for the update.
Awesome. See you in Dallas.